New Orleans signed C.J. Spiller for something other than sitting on the fucking bench.
31 other passes that should have been intercepted with you.
So that's why I have David Johnson on my board higher.
If you're doing a live draft, wait till you're drunk to draft this guy. We welcome you to the Fifth Down.
Welcome to the Fifth Down. We are the Fifth Down, giving you the extra down that you need to win your championship. What's up, K-Mill? What's going on, dude? How you been?
It is good. It is good. And to quote the late and great, well, not late and great, but he was late last year, Terrell Suggs, talking about Ben Roethlisberger. His soul may belong to God, but his ass belongs to me. How's it going, everybody?
All right, so we figured today, this is episode 14, we figured today, since a lot of people are going to be going close to their draft, that we are going to have another draft strategy show. Sound good to you?
Oh, yeah. I'm actually anxious to talk about this subject. I'm really excited.
All right. Before we get into all of that, Kamal, you said you got some news and notes you wanted to go over?
Yeah, here's something that's not actually like a player-related per se, but I thought it was interesting. The Rams are offering Jeff Fisher an extension, or it's in the works right now, which is kind of surprising to me because the last 4 years he has failed to get over 7 wins, so I'm really wondering why they're offering him a contract extension. Doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. So I guess
pretty
the Rams
sure it's gonna be a very average very average salary, don't you say?
I would say so. I think that, or the reports now are, now that Kroenke got his wish and got the Rams to L.A., he doesn't really care about the quality of the team. He just cares if they're in L.A. So they want a mediocre team, and they'll have a mediocre team, I guess. Other than that, though, also out of, I guess, that spectrum with the guy that was picked second in the draft this year, Carson Wentz, he has a hairline fracture in his ribs. The Eagles expect him to be back for the regular season. But it doesn't sound serious. It sounds like it'll only be like a 4-week thing, but
yeah, sounds like he's going to be the third stringer too.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. I've actually heard really good things about Sam Bradford. It's hard for me to trust him, but I've heard good things about him this year coming out of Eagles camp. He's been, I think a beat writer was describing him as the most accurate passer by far at Eagles camp. So I think he's got pretty much, at least for this year, he's got the starter position locked up.
That whole team scares me, man.
Yeah, they're going to be a tough team to trust.
I mean, even at the running back position, do you really think that Ryan Matthews can make it through a 16-week schedule?
You know what? That to me is very surprising because he only did it 1 year in San Diego. Every other year he couldn't make a full season. So I really only see Matthews playing maybe 10 games, which kind of is the reason why, and I'll get into this later with draft strategy, why I'm shying away of a lot of running backs you're going to get in the later rounds. And in other news, Julius Thomas, I had it wrong. I think I announced it a couple of weeks ago that he had an ankle injury. It is apparently his knee, and he has remained out of practice. So anybody that's looking to get some, like a late-round tight end value out of Julius Thomas, this might concern you a little bit. He is very injury-prone, so be careful.
He's only a couple of years away from removed from having, like, double-digit touchdowns, though, too.
That is true.
Granted, BB isn't a Peyton Manning, but
that is true. Well, and here's actually staying on the tight end subject. I'm pretty sure everybody's already heard about Ladarius Green and how he's almost like
breaking everybody's heart.
You know what? He was a popular guy. I know for you and for me as well as a guy that you were going to get insane late value for a guy whose quarterback happens to be Big Ben. I mean, the upside for this guy could have been the ceiling, but now it's looking like he's a victim of getting cut or released. I don't know. It's so weird to me that we're saying this, but I was really looking forward to Ladarius Green. I love that match with Big Ben and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I loved it, but looks like it's not going to happen.
Did you hear about the contract extension Tyrod Taylor got?
Yeah, I actually really like that. I think the Bills are getting.
I think that's the worst. That's an awful contract on the Bills' half.
Oh, that they got ripped off.
I think Tyrod's agent deserves a promotion.
Yeah, well, you know what?
6 year, $90 million. Like I didn't see that coming.
Now, hold on. Yeah, okay. I will say this. Obviously, he didn't, get the, the highest contract in the entire NFL. Obviously, we're talking about Tyrod Taylor here. He's only had one successful season, but last year he was very effective. He had like 20 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. He had a good season. I'm just saying, those kind of quarterbacks tend to get hurt. That's a lot of capital to put up front like that. Yeah, I mean, he last year I was just looking at the stat that I wanted to share. Tyrod Taylor had an elite yards per attempt last year. He had 8, so 8 yards per attempt. That's pretty good. But
it's pretty good.
We're talking about Tyrod Taylor here. I do think that he got overpaid. But here's my thing. I think that this is good for both sides here because the Bills had to break the bank a little bit, but I think they're getting a quality passer. He's got Sammy Watkins, some other nice options at his disposal.
Do you think that Tyrod Taylor will live out to see that contract? Do you think he'll be there for another 6 years?
Hard to say. Like I said, we've only seen one good season out of him, but I do think that this year he will be a nice QB2.
I mean, you gotta like the fact that he gets a lot of rushing yards. That does kind of bump up his value.
Yeah. Here's the thing that does scare me about drafting a guy like Tyrod Taylor is the fact that if you have a healthy Sammy Watkins, I mean, he's a guy you want to have. But think about it. If Sammy Watkins goes down, his number one receiver is now Robert Woods. I think that's a steady drop-off.
Well, think about this. Even with Sammy Watkins in, they're one of the most run-heavy teams in the league last year. They ran the ball, I think, like 51% of the time.
That is also a good point. But also remember, too, Sammy Watkins did miss significant time at the start of the season.
Yep. So what else you got for the news and notes?
Not really major news, but Benny Fowler, the favorite to win that number 3 Broncos wide receiver spot.
I've been hearing that.
Yeah, he got an elbow injury.
I really don't know how valuable that is, though.
That is true, but here's my whole point of view for guys in like dynasty leagues and keeper leagues. This opens the door now for Cody Latimer, who's been an unheralded disappointment the last 2 years after he's been drafted. He got drafted in the second round by Denver. And this now opens the door. He also had a good preseason game against Chicago 3 nights ago. So this opens the door for him to maybe shine, and then maybe if he has a good season, the Broncos don't extend Emmanuel Sanders. So it's something that I like to keep my eye on.
All right. So today we're going to be talking about some draft strategy and like certain players that you can get at certain spots and how you can rearrange like your positional tiers and all that. We're going to give you some tips and whatnot. So what's something that you look for in your first round pick?
Well, I'll tell you, in years past, actually just this year, I was thinking that I was going to go wide receiver heavy. I think we both agreed on that. But I've been doing some research over the last couple of days, and I've changed my strategy a little bit. I think I'm going to target running backs early because I'm really not liking the late-round running back value. However, there's a lot of late-round wide receiver value that I've seen that could pay dividends to your team. And I don't want to rub this in or anything like that, but David Johnson is now the number 1 ranked running back on Yahoo's site. So I'm just saying. I wasn't too crazy when I said it earlier. But yeah, I'm looking. Okay, so this is my simple algorithm for first round draft strategy. I'm gonna look at it as if I have the number 1 overall, I'm not gonna be stupid with this one. Or if I'm sitting at number 1, 2, or 3, I'm taking a wide receiver because you've got Antonio Brown, who in my book is the consensus number 1 overall. Then you got OBJ, number 2 overall, and then I would say Julio. So, but if you can't get any of those 3 guys, then I'm looking at running back. I'm looking at David Johnson, possibly Le'Veon Bell.
Even with this 4-game suspension?
Now, that is something that's risky. I forgot to mention this in the news and notes. The Pittsburgh Steelers team is confident that his suspension will get reversed. So I don't know if you want to read too much into that. I'm not. But I honestly, with Le'Veon Bell, I would want to take him. I would be more comfortable taking him in the second round. If you can get a stud wide receiver, I would get him.
Honestly, I wouldn't. There's no way in hell I'm drafting Bell this year. Just for the fact that if I have to get him in the second or third round, there's a lot of good players that I'd rather have. You know what I mean?
That is true. I actually misspoke. I didn't mean Bell. I forgot about his suspension. But no, I'm talking like a David Johnson or a Todd Gurley. If I can get one of those two guys with the fourth or fifth pick, I'm going to do it. I think at that point they're worth it.
What if you're picking in like the 6th, 7th, or 8th spot? Are you still looking at the running backs there? Because I mean, obviously you'll have Brown will be off the board, Julio will be off the board, Beckham will be off the board, probably even Hopkins, maybe even AJ.
That is good. Yeah, if you're looking at a league that's drafting wide receiver heavy, go against the grain. Draft a running back or draft Gronk. I mean, he's in my mind, there's no reason why you can't draft him in the first round. So if I'm got a late first round pick, I'm looking at the trends, and I'm looking maybe Gronk, maybe an Allen Robinson sneaks in the first round.
Do you think that Gronk really is that much better than all the other tight ends to where he warrants a first round pick?
Well, I'm not saying that he's so much better because I think that the difference between him and Jordan Reed is comparable, but I think that he's proven over the last couple seasons that he can stay a little bit healthier. I know he has injury concerns earlier in his career, but yeah, I would say there's a significant drop off after Gronk.
Are you worried about him playing without Tom Brady for 4 games? Actually, for 5 games because they have a week 5 bye or something like that?
I'm a little bit worried about that, but I've been hearing a lot of good things about Jimmy Garoppolo. I still can't pronounce his name.
Jimmy Grabaho. I call him Grabaho.
Grabaho. Jimmy Grabaho. We'll do that from now on. All right. Well, Grabaho has actually completed over 60% of his passes through camp. He's only thrown a couple picks. I've been hearing a lot of good things about him, so I'm not too concerned about it. Plus, Gronk is a matchup nightmare. He's a go-to guy for any quarterback. I mean, I say that I still think that that's safe. If you're picking in the late first round, I still think that Gronk should be on your radar.
All right. So there's quite a bit of options. There's quite a bit of options you can go with this in the first round, especially if you're picking in that middle stage. Like you're looking at players like David Johnson, DeAndre Hopkins, AJ Green, even like. If you want to name a couple more running backs that could slip into that first round, you got Ezekiel Elliott and Lamar Miller.
That is true. Yeah, those are the guys that are like my money. Okay, so think about it this way. I have a very simple idea when it comes to the first 2 rounds. If I can get a guy like David Johnson and like say everybody goes wide receiver heavy in the first round, and then a guy like Lamar Miller or AP slips into the second round. I mean, scoop that up right away because then you got stud running backs. And then here's my names that I was going to bring up for that late round wide receiver value. So you got Rashard Matthews, who on a season-long league is actually has very good appeal because nobody has quite broken out as a number 1 in Tennessee right now. And he had a good YPA last year. He's also got Marcus Mariota and now Ryan Tannehill. I like that upgrade. And then you got Terrence Williams, who was inconsistent last year, but he did have put up some decent numbers towards season end, especially if you're in a PPR league.
Travis, I was reading something about Miami's preseason game they had. 1.4 yards a play.
Yeah,
for the first 5 drives.
Did you hear that the first 2 drives were 3 and outs?
Yeah, like they did not look like they were grasping that offense yet. That's a little bit scary, don't you think?
I think it is, yeah, especially with Adam Gase, the quarterback guru or the self-proclaimed quarterback guru. I was hoping for big things about Ryan Tannehill. Maybe he gets a really nice late round value for Ryan Tannehill. But until I see more, I'm not trusting him.
You know, I've been a Tannehill guy for the past 2 years because I thought he was going to take that next step up, and he just never has. He doesn't really have a very good deep ball, and I think that he could very well find his way out the door after this year.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that this is a make or break year for him, and I think he knows that.
I mean, there's some fans that are calling for his head.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I've been saying it. I said it last year too. I said last year was a make or break year. This year is like legit the make or break year because I think Miami's getting fed up with this bullshit. So we'll see. But another late round wide receiver value I did want to bring up was Travis Benjamin. He's got Phillip Rivers as a quarterback, deep threat. I like it. And then Doug Baldwin, another one that could go as late as like 46, 47 overall. You know, you can snag a guy like him later. I mean, I love that.
I'm looking at the football calculator. He's like the 48th player off the board going in the back end of the fourth round.
I think that we're obviously going to see some touchdown regression from Baldwin, but I do think that he's going to have a good fantasy season. I think he's going to be worthy of that 48th round or 48th overall pick. Russell Wilson, I'm looking at it right now. I think I'm not getting a clear look at it, but I think he had 10 yards. He was averaging 10 yards per attempt last year.
No, they very well may just put the ball in his hands and let him do his thing.
Yeah, I think so, and I think that another reason why I think that Doug Baldwin's value actually goes up for me is because Thomas Rawls is not having a good camp right now, from what I've heard, and Christine Michael has actually done really well, and I don't really trust Christine Michael to be that rock toter in that Seattle offense.
Well, here's some players that Doug Baldwin's going. He's going in the back end of the fourth round. Here's some players that are right around his ADP. You got Eric Decker, Dante Moncrief, Greg Olson, DeMarco Murray, Danny Woodhead, Michael Floyd.
Yeah, no, and those are all good guys too. But for me, for the running back situation and Russell Wilson's recent ascension in the passing game, I like Doug Baldwin. However, I can't argue with an Eric Decker. I think that's a solid pick. But you got to think if you're going Eric Decker against Doug Baldwin, you're going to want the guy that's the number one on his team, and that's why I picked Doug Baldwin over Eric Decker.
All right. Well, all right, so let's get a little bit back on track where we were talking about in the first round. Say you are picking in the middle of that first round. That's kind of like a sweet spot because you never have to wait too long to pick. Is that kind of like where you like to pick?
I love that. I love the middle of the first round. If I get a choice on where my draft position is, I think I'll pick middle of the first every single time. Because I just like that you're not waiting, and every round you're either if you get the number 6, you're perfect because you're either picking 6 or 7 the whole way down.
Yep. And then, I mean, you could conceivably get your favorite player, David Johnson, with your first pick with the first round. Say then you come back in the second round, some players that you could be looking at are players like, well, you could back them up with a Le'Veon Bell, Jamal Charles, Jordy Nelson, Keenan Allen.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. So for my second round,
Devontae Freeman is there.
I'm not too. We've already discussed that. We're both not.
I had to bring his name up because I know you hate him.
Yeah, I knew you had to. So the way I'm looking at the second round is it's all going to depend on what's happening in the first round. If I'm sitting at, let's just say hypothetically I'm sitting at 6, and like 4 or 5 receivers are getting drafted ahead of me, I'm gonna go against the grain here, and I'm gonna take a running back. I'm either gonna take one of two guys. I'm taking Todd Gurley or David Johnson. There's only two running backs that I think are worthy of a first round this year. Maybe if you're really high on him, Le'Veon Bell late first.
What about an AP?
I think his age is not showing well on him. He kind of scares me. I'd be more comfortable taking a guy like AP in the second round. Otherwise, I'd just take a receiver in the first round.
Yeah, for me personally, I like to get those wide receiver studs out of the way early because they tend to stay more healthy throughout the year, and they have a safer floor. I'm a wide receiver guy this year, I think.
Yeah, I was too, but I've been looking at it. There's a value to be had. So I'd rather have, say, like, I'm comparing receivers to running backs here, but I'd rather have a combination of, like, Travis Benjamin, Doug Baldwin, and Rashard Matthews, as opposed to, like, say, getting, like, maybe a Matt Forte late, a DeMarco Murray late, and then, like, I don't know, throw another name in there. I feel more comfortable.
Jonathan Stewart.
Yeah, Jonathan. Yeah, see, I still feel more comfortable getting maybe, like, say, if I go first 2 rounds running back, getting maybe like a Todd Gurley and maybe a Jamal Charles. Like, I like that a lot. Even though Jamal Charles carries his own injury risk, if say he stays healthy for the entire season, you got 2 stud running backs. We know that last year running backs were not able to stay very healthy, but I don't know here this year. If you do this draft strategy and it pays off, you're going to crush teams week in, week out.
Well, the way I'm looking at it is it's really hard to pass up on saying, like, you can pair up like a DeAndre Hopkins with Keenan Allen, or DeAndre Hopkins with, like, Allen Robinson. Like, that's looking super good to me right now.
Oh yeah, I love that too. In fact, you know what's even better is that I think still, even now, after his name's been out there, I think that Keenan Allen's is being slept on, like, really hardcore, because I think he's going about 25th off the board.
Mid-second round.
Yeah, see, I think he should be going, like, top of the second. I mean, he will. I don't know. I can't say enough about Keenan. He's going to get that volume.
I think that Le'Veon Bell is going to kind of drop a little bit, and then some of the other people's values will rise because of that. So. Yeah.
Who would you rather have as far as because obviously we're going to see some touchdown regression from Allen Robinson. Would you rather have a Keenan Allen or an Allen Robinson?
Well, based on volume alone, I think that Keenan Allen's going to get a lot of volume in that offense. So, I mean, I think that I'd rather have Keenan Allen, but I think that Allen Robinson will definitely score more touchdowns than Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen's not really a touchdown guy. In a PPR setting, though, he will wreck some shit.
Oh, yeah, for sure, definitely.
Honestly, you could conceivably have them both in the same team. If you're picking at the back end of the first round, you could conceivably just draft Allen Robinson and Keenan Allen.
Oh, yeah, you totally could. And that's what's nice about drafting back end of the first is, like, if you do that, you have the potential to do that. Just get, bam, 2 stud receivers, like, there.
Yeah, honestly, that's my favorite spot to pick, is at the back of that first round, because then, you wait a long time, but you can see the direction of which the draft is going, and then you can adjust your draft strategy according to that. Like, say you're like one of those. I'm not a big advocate on 0 running back or 0 wide receiver, because I feel like balance is the best way to go. But
I think
you can
so too.
see you can see, like, the positional runs that you'll go throughout the draft, and then you can adjust your strategy to whatever the way the draft is going. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's my point with draft strategy, is that depending on where I'm picking, that's going to be my strategy. If I'm picking top of the first, I'm thinking a receiver. If I'm picking middle of the first, I'm thinking if I can get my hands on David Johnson or Todd Gurley, I'm going to do that. If not, I'm thinking receiver, maybe Gronk at the very back of the first. And then same thing. If I'm picking back end of the first, and then I pick at the top of the second, I'm thinking just going receiver. But if I'm saying picking in the middle of the first, I'm thinking running back, and then probably all the stud receivers are gone. So I might take a Keenan Allen there if he falls to me in the middle of the second, or I might just take another running back. But I'm thinking first round, if you can get your hands in the middle on a Todd Gurley or David Johnson, that's what I want to do. And then see where you're at in the second, see who falls to you.
So I've been meaning to ask you this question. I'm just going to start naming off some players, and I want you to tell me, like, one player that you think does not deserve to be in the first round, okay?
All right.
So I'm looking at the fantasy football calculator PPR rankings. It goes as follows: Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, Odell Beckham, Todd Gurley, DeAndre Hopkins, David Johnson, A.J. Green, Adrian Peterson, Des Bryant, Lamar Miller, Allen Robinson, Ezekiel Elliott, and Rob Gronkowski. I named them in the order which they're being most often being drafted as.
Ooh.
Is there any names that stick out at you?
There are. Yeah, there's one in particular that really sticks out to me. I think all these guys are deserving of a first round, except for, because of his age, Adrian Peterson. He's a guy that is not even on my radar in the first round.
Hey, to me, he's a guy that's kind of a popular running back choice if you're picking at the back end of the first round, and a lot of like those running backs are already taken.
Yeah,
it really depends on it really depends on the draft flow. A lot of running backs tend to go in the first round. Then AP will be sitting there at the back end of the first, and it's like, well, why not? You know?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, Johnny. If you're sitting there, say, with the 10th or 11th pick in a 12-team league, and all these other stud receivers went before you, and you're sitting at a pick where you could have your choice of A.J. Green, Des Bryant, or Adrian Peterson. Is Adrian Peterson even really on your radar at that point?
Actually, yeah, just those three players that you just named, yeah, I'd pick AP over both of them.
Really?
A.J. Green is the one name that sticks out to me that should not be in the first round, to be honest.
That was going to be my second choice, but
just because A.J. Green, he's going to get double teamed pretty much all year, and I've seen it before in the past. When they double team him, he tends to get frustrated and just quit. Same thing with Des Bryant. There's some games where he'll just completely just disappear. I think Des Bryant will have a better year than A.J. Green, though.
I think so too. You see, I have to disagree with you there, Johnny. If I'm looking at the back end of the first and I have those three players, I'm thinking number one is Dez. If I can get Dez, I'm gonna take Dez. If I can get AJ, I'll take AJ, and then maybe I'll take Adrian Peterson, because everybody wants to act like he's going to continue to be all day, every day. I get it. Adrian Peterson's great. Don't get me wrong, but eventually that regression is going to come. And you don't want to sit here every year in, year out thinking he's going to be the same old AP each year, and then you finally draft him with a first-round pick and you're very comfortable with that, and then in the middle of the year he gets hurt or, another child abuse scandal. I'm just saying.
I already said it on the show once, if I'm picking at that back end of the first round, I'm going to reach a little bit, and I'm just going to take Allen Robinson and Keenan Allen and be fine with it.
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm saying. So what you're saying to me is, you'd be more comfortable taking.
If I'm picking at the 10th spot, yeah, I'm just gonna take Allen Robinson, Keenan Allen.
Yeah, but think about it. If you're, what about this? If you're playing with a bunch of I don't know who you're playing with here, but think about it. If you could go ahead and draft a Dez, and then say you're picking in a couple more picks later, why not just get a Keenan Allen, because he's getting overlooked in a lot of leagues.
Yeah. I like Allen Robinson. I just like Allen Robinson more than I like Des Bryant. That's why. He's higher on my board than
Really? See, okay, yeah. So I can see where you're coming from, definitely. But I think on my board, if I can grab an AJ Green, I like what you're saying with the double teams, but I still think that AJ Green or Des Bryant are just going to be worthy of a first round pick.
And for a guy that finished as a top 10 receiver, he had a shit ton of games where he scored less than 10 points. There's a lot of games where he kind of busted, if you want to say.
Okay. I can take that.
He seems like an elite boomer bust player to me.
That's true, because when he blows up, he blows the fuck up. That is true.
Yeah. He tends to explode, and I think that inflates his fantasy value a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know, because that can be the game winner for you week in, week out, like Lamar Miller proved last year for a couple games.
With my number one receiver, I don't want that boomer bust factor of my number one receiver. I want consistency. If I want a boomer bust player, I want that to be my third receiver. I think Sammy Watkins is the perfect third receiver for me, because he doesn't do well. Oh well, I still have two other guys that are performing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. See, well, I'll tell you this. If I'm looking at AJ Green or Des Bryant, I'm looking first at the quarterback situation. I think I like Andy Dalton way more than an old ass, broken Tony Romo. So I think that I like AJ Green a lot more. And you're right. But you can't expect each season to be like the last season. AJ Green last year had that kind of a season where it was a boom or bust thing. But in years
he's
past,
always been like that.
Okay, yeah, all right, I'll take that. But there's games where he'll boom, 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 and then bust, or et cetera. It's kind of a chance, kind of a lottery draw. I don't know. I still think that I like if I'm picking at the back end of the first though, and I can take AJ with like the 11, and then a couple picks later get Keenan Allen, then why not just do that? Because you know that somebody else is going to take AJ before they take Keenan, because a lot of people are looking at an AJ or a Dez, so they're looking at a Keenan. So why not just say fuck it and get both?
Well, I like Allen Robinson more than I like Dez and AJ Green. I'd probably pick him over both of those guys.
Really? So you'd rather have a combo?
He's been looking really good, and he's been looking really good in training camp. He's been really aggressive towards the ball. I like everything I've been seeing out of Allen Robinson this offseason.
Okay, so you would be comfortable with a combination of Keenan Allen and Allen Robinson over, say, a combo of like, AJ Green or Des Bryant mixed in there?
Yeah.
Okay. I can understand that, because I love that. I love the value that you're getting there for both of them. I mean, yeah, you're reaching a little in the first, I think, but you still have a badass wide receiver combination. And then from there, like say you're gonna have to wait till the back of the third round. You can take someone like maybe if Doug Martin was the slip, you can also take a Thomas Rolls, and Matt Forte. You got Latavius Murray's there, Carlos Hyde is there, Deion Lewis is there. There's still some good running backs towards the back of the third and fourth round. That is true. Yeah, C.J. Anderson, the guy you didn't mention too, he's in there as well. All right, here's a question I want to ask you, actually, because this is a heavily debated topic from what I've understood. When you are finally thinking quarterback, what are the three names that come to mind, and in what rounds would you be comfortable picking them in? Like, if you're thinking, just think of three quarterback names that maybe are on your radar for your kind of a draft strategy, Johnny.
Well, I know last year my sweet spot for my quarterback was in that 5 to 6 round range, but now this year it's even pushed back even further. I'm liking players like Carson Palmer in the 7th round, Eli Manning in the 8th. You got Phillip Rivers there, Derek Carr. That's right in that range is my sweet spot.
I'm really surprised that a guy like Derek Carr is going that late. I'm really surprised about that because
ninth round. Yeah, I've seen him go later than that too. I've seen him go as far as back as the 12th.
Oh yeah, no, and the thing is for me personally, when it comes to my quarterback drafting strategy, I don't feel comfortable taking a Cam Newton or an Aaron Rodgers or an Andrew Luck super early. I'm feeling more comfortable taking, like you said, a Phillip Rivers, a Carson Palmer, or Derek Carr later. Because even Blake Bortles,
it gives you a chance to stockpile in those other skills positions that you need more of. You know what I mean? Because you only need one, maybe 2 quarterbacks. Stockpile other areas first. Punt the kicker, punt the tight end, stock up on those receivers and running backs.
Absolutely, definitely, and think in the later rounds too. I know one of my favorite draft strategies is stealing handcuffs away from people, because if they're looking at handcuffing, say a David Johnson that they got in the first round, and they're thinking traditionally about an 8th or a 9th round pick on a handcuff. I'm going to think maybe a round earlier, like a 7 or an 8, or somebody that
they might have that same mindset too, though.
That is true. I'm just saying, if you think you can steal one away, I'm saying so not particularly for David Johnson, but I'm talking for an injury-prone back, say Le'Veon Bell. If you steal D'Angelo Williams away from somebody, I mean, I don't know. That's something to look at least consider when you're picking in those later rounds.
All right. Well, I'm a guy that I tend to not take other people's handcuffs just because I don't like to waste my bench space with players that may or may not pan out. But I am like a guy that likes to get insurance on that number one running back that you have. Like say especially if like you're picking like mid second round and you can get like a Doug Martin. I'd like to look at getting a Charles Sims in the 8th round. I love handcuffing Doug Martin when I do my mock drafts. Because he's a guy that does tend to go down. He does tend to go down. Like everyone's kind of like seeing through like some fogged glasses right now because he had such a great year last year. But the 2 years before that, he was always getting hurt. So
you know what? He's a guy that in my draft board is going way too low. Doug Martin was second in the league last year.
He's a talent. He's a talent.
Yeah, no, in a season-long league, I can't believe it. It surprises me that he's going so low because, you know, last year you could have got him for fucking peanuts, but this year, you know, like he literally, like nearly, he was I think like 60 yards away from what AP's mark of like best running back last year as far as yards goes, and he's going in like the 2nd round. You should think a guy like that is going in the 1st round. I mean, you know, with those kind of numbers, if he can replicate those numbers. So for me, Doug Martin's going way too low right now. If you can grab yourself like a David Johnson and then go back in the 2nd round and draft a Doug Martin, I think that's a great like 1-2 right there. If they stay healthy.
So, what can you give me like 3 like I guess I wouldn't say rules, but like 3 guidelines that you would have going into a draft?
Yeah. Okay. So my first one is don't draft a quarterback too early, or the Philadelphia defense. That's an inside joke. Yeah, don't draft.
You want to wait on the quarterback.
Definitely want to wait on a quarterback because, like you just said, you brought up some great names. I love those names you brought up for like late round values for quarterbacks. Trust me, folks. Unless you see quarterbacks start flying off the board at an alarming rate, you're still going to want to wait until. I'm not even thinking quarterback until maybe round 6. More like later. I'm just saying at the very least, I'm not even thinking about a quarterback
I like to at least fill out my starting roster before I get a quarterback.
Absolutely. I want at least 2 stud receivers and 2 stud backs on my team before I'm even thinking quarterback. My other rule is this: draft not so much by value, but by the flow of the draft. If you see wide receivers flying off the board at the top of the 1st, if you're just sitting there with a mid-1st, go against the grain, get a running back. If you're sitting there and you somehow, I don't see why any draft would do this, but if you see running backs flying off the board early, then say and because I've seen it in some mock drafts that I've done, Antonio Brown falling to you in the 5th with the 5th overall. I'm taking that every day.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
It kind of surprises me.
Yeah, I can't. Haven't you seen it? Because I've seen it. It's actually happened to me in like 3 drafts where Antonio's fallen to the 4th or 5th pick, and I'm like, how the fuck does that happen? So I don't know. So draft by the flow is my thing. Like don't so much because you even brought up a good point too. You're not high on guys like Des Bryant or AJ Green, so you're comfortable taking a combo of like Allen Robinson and Keenan Allen, you know, at the back end of that 1st and 2nd. Yeah, that's my big second rule is just draft by the flow. If you, however the first couple picks play out, if you're picking with a mid or a late pick, just watch how people are drafting. If you're drafting at the top of the 1st, I mean, don't be stupid about it. Take a guy like Antonio Brown. You're not going to regret it.
Can you imagine? Could you imagine? Say Keenan Allen was to fall a little bit in the 2nd round, and you had the 1st pick overall. You took Antonio Brown, and you were able to match him up with Keenan Allen.
Oh my God, I think I would have a roster-gasm like right there. Like, oh my God, if you had that combination, man, oh man. I can't even begin with words to say how badass that combination would be. Because in some leagues, if you're playing with some amateurs, that could definitely happen. Because people are going to be like, who the fuck is Keenan Allen? They're going to know who Des Bryant and AJ Green are. They're not going to know who Keenan Allen is.
They'll look at his stats and they go, oh, well, he's hurt, he's injury prone. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. If you're playing with a bunch of first-timers or guys that just don't really watch the game religiously or follow the news, they're not going to know who a Keenan Allen or, I mean, maybe they might know who Allen Robinson is because of his breakout year last year, but, I mean, Keenan Allen's a guy that's still flying under the radar, and I don't understand it. And same with Sammy Watkins. He's a guy that I can't believe I haven't brought up to this point, too, is a lot of people are, like, really sleeping on Sammy Watkins. And I've seen it in drafts.
Might have something to do with his foot injury.
I mean, yeah, you bring up a good point, but I'm still looking at Sammy Watkins. Like, if I can get him in the third round, I love that.
See, I'd much rather have Sammy Watkins as my third receiver than my second receiver, just because of his injury past and the fact that he tends to be a little bit more boom or bust.
Man, you know what? I do like where you're going with this because I do really like your draft strategy. Like, I like how you're thinking. If you're picking at the back end of that first round and you get like two receivers, boom, boom, and then maybe Sammy Watkins.
You could have Allen Robinson, Keenan Allen, and Sammy Watkins all on the same team.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's why I'm actually commending you. That's amazing. If you could do that, wow. I mean, you kind of leave your running back position a little high and dry there. I mean, you could probably search for some late round values. There's plenty to be had, but I do like that because then if you say get all those three and then you pick at the top of the board and then you can get a guy like C.J. Anderson, I mean, you're still doing pretty damn good for a draft.
I mean, I'll be perfectly fine with getting Allen Robinson, Keenan Allen, Sammy Watkins, and then coming back and getting Latavius Murray and Matt Forte. I'd be fine with that.
You know what, and I do like that. Matt Forte is a little bit.
The
off
one thing
my
I will
radar.
say though is, if you are going to get Matt Forte, I'm sorry to cut you off. If you're going to get Matt Forte, I would highly suggest getting Bilal Powell as well.
Yeah, you definitely have to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good point you bring up. You definitely have to get Bilal Powell if you're going to even think about getting Matt Forte. In fact, that just brings me back to one of my points too. Another draft strategy is if you're drafting running backs, especially early, handcuff them. You have to handcuff them. Do not don't just be like, oh, I'm going to get some with a late round pick, just because they're for usually flyers anyways. You want to draft your studs, fuck it, just get your handcuffs with late rounds.
Yeah, well, a little bit of what my suggestions are going into that first round is I like to look for a player that's durable. I don't like any nasty injuries from the year before, and I want dependability, someone who can consistently perform, not like, oh, have some down weeks, have some up weeks, have some down weeks, have some up weeks. I got nice consistency. And then also know the people that you're in the draft with, because you know some of their tendencies, it makes it that much more easier. And don't be afraid to veer off your strategy if, say, the draft flow is not going accordingly. You have to be able to adapt.
I actually want to commend you on what you just said. That's actually really, really good. I really like that.
It's a little bit what you said. I don't really tend to go with an actual strategy per se, but I do like to adapt to what the flow of the draft is, where it's going. If there's a lot of running backs going off the board, I'm probably going to just try to end that run and take a wide receiver or a tight end that's in a higher tier. Say the running backs are in tier 3, receivers are in tier 2, tight ends are in tier 2. I'm probably going to take a receiver. You know what I mean?
Yeah, actually, absolutely. Yeah, but no, I have to commend you on what you just said, though. The fact that you said you have to be able to adapt. It's literally about what I just said, just worded differently, but be able to adapt.
Very, very similar.
And another thing you said was really great, too. Know the guys you're drafting with, because I'm not going to name any names here, but me and Johnny are in a league with a friend who is really high on Todd Gurley. And you pretty much know that, before you even, get into that draft with him, you know that he's on Todd Gurley. I know. I heard Goff has been not looking good in training camp.
Yeah,
I've heard the same thing. I heard that Case Keenum's the favorite for the number one.
He looks like he's having difficulty adapting to the under center because he's so used to taking under shotgun. So I called it from the start. It's not a good scheme mix for him, really. I thought they should have drafted Carson Wentz.
Oh, I knew. Yeah. I said the same thing too. I thought the same thing because Todd Gurley I thought that if they did let Goff operate under shotgun like he's used to doing, then Todd Gurley would struggle. Well, the Rams, with Todd Gurley being their most valuable player, are not going to let that happen. So of course he's going to have to adapt.
They're building around him. It's not. They're not building around Goff. They're building around Gurley.
Exactly. So he's going to have to learn how to play under center. I personally, if I was the Rams and I traded up for that pick, I would have easily taken Wentz, just because of the fact that Goff, don't get me wrong, he had a great, well, not success-wise, but, personal success-wise, he had a good college career. I would take Carson Wentz. He's used to operating out of that shotgun or under center, I think, more than Goff is. But getting back on track here, another thing is, so if a guy's going to take Gurley, if for an absolute fact if he's sitting in that first round and he's sitting with, for instance, if he's sitting with the number 1 overall, you already know he's going to take Gurley because he's got the whole board for himself. So then if you're sitting at number 2, you're watering at the mouth. You're like, oh, my God, I'm getting Antonio Brown, because you really are.
Are you getting, a massive boner, say, if you look at, the first 5 people that get picked is Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, Beckham, then Hopkins, and then say someone jumps the gun and takes A.J. Green, that 5th pick, and then you can get Todd Gurley in the 6th overall pick? I've seen that happen a couple of times.
Oh, man. Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong.
That happens. I'm starting to get a big boner if that happens.
Oh, yeah. So actually I have that hypothetical for you. Say that situation happens to you, Johnny, and you're sitting at that 6th pick, and what you just said happens. Are you not even going to think about it? You're taking a Todd Gurley right there?
Yeah, probably.
Nice. So you're saying, because I know that you've been talking up, drafting a receiver pretty much, from what I can tell, no matter what. But if that scenario happens, you're thinking maybe fuck it. If I can get a Todd Gurley with the 6th, I'm going to take him.
Well, yeah, that's excellent value. The running backs that I feel he's really the only running back that I like in that first round is Todd Gurley, maybe Lamar Miller.
Really? Okay, so you would take a Lamar Miller over David Johnson, because that's where I really disagree.
No, I'm not saying I would take Lamar Miller over David Johnson. I'm saying say if I'm picking at the back end of the first round, I would consider Lamar Miller. David Johnson would probably already be gone. David Johnson's not really a back I'm really targeting this year, not for the fact that I don't think he's any good. I just think that maybe there's a little bit of a smoke screen there.
No, I know what you're saying. I agree with you there. Yeah, no, he's probably going to go earlier. But yeah, if that happens, oh yeah, I'm watering at the mouth.
Well, let's put it this way: if David Johnson was to fall to the back of the first round, he would be in consideration.
Yeah, if he falls to the back of the first round, I
you really got to look at players that are falling and players that are still there. You got to look at it and see, wow, that's pretty good value. Maybe I should probably change my strategy up a little bit.
Well, I'll tell you this, Johnny, and I mentioned it on our last show. David Johnson at the moment is the number 2 running back on my board. I know with our preseason way too early draft ranking, he was my number 1 running back. Right now, Todd Gurley is actually higher on my board. So if I'm sitting at that 6th, and let's say we went on a crazy run of receivers, I'm watering at the mouth for a guy like Todd Gurley. I think that's excellent value for a Todd Gurley. And do you think Todd Gurley
has the opportunity to get double-digit touchdowns?
Oh yeah, I think anything's possible, Todd Gurley.
What about him getting 40 to 50 catches?
I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I think it's a little bit of a stretch, but I definitely don't think it's out of the realm of possibility.
You did hear that Trey Mason just kind of went AWOL, right?
Yeah, he's completely fucking psycho. Apparently, I would have to get it.
He pulled it up right young.
Yeah, no, I can pull it up online, but the transcript of what I heard, I read a couple articles on his little abandonment of the Rams, and it sounds like he's completely bonkers. I guess he told his mom that he was the president of the United States and all this shit, and it was crazy. Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't hear that. That's crazy, dude.
Oh, here, hold on. Here, keep talking. I'm going to pull it up. It's hilarious.
All right. Yeah, because the reason why I bring this up is like, is there any like pass catching backs in St. Louis? Like I think maybe like a Benny Cunningham might be, but I just don't see that there's a whole lot of like guys there that can catch the ball out of the backfield. So I'm thinking, who's going to be that guy? It might have to be Gurley. Who knows?
Yeah. I think if you're going to handcuff Gurley, I think that the guy to do it with is Benny Cunningham. Because as far as I'm concerned, I think that he's the number 2 because Trey Mason is just completely bizarre.
Do you really want to burn a pick on Benny Cunningham though?
I don't know.
Especially when you can get him for free in the waiver wire.
That's pretty true.
Yeah, and unless he explodes one week, you'll probably be able to easily get him on the waiver wire. So I don't think it's really a guy I would necessarily want to draft.
Here, if we're going to get a little off topic, I have the quotes now. All right, so Trey Mason. Okay, so according to a report filed by the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, cops say Trey Mason's mother had called because her son was acting unusual and making irrational statements. And then it goes on to say, when Trey saw the cops, he threatened to call the White House to have them all fired and made bizarre statements about Al-Qaeda. So it says the report. Upon inspection, cops noticed a hole that had been punched in the wall of Trey's bedroom, and a broken vase and lamp. And then, it goes on to say, I believe that Trey does not have the ability to make decisions at the time. Therefore, he was transported to blank, where he was treated for the laceration and admitted for evaluation. So, it sounds like Trey Mason's pretty much done.
He took the crazy pills, huh?
I guess so, yeah. But you know what? You bring up a good point. I don't know. For me, if I'm a Todd Gurley owner, he showed that he was very durable through last season. I think it was week 4 when he took over. He's been durable. The only reason that I say that David Johnson and Todd Gurley are the ones that I take in the first round are because they're the only 2 backs that I really think are durable for a full season. Maybe Adrian Peterson, but I'm not really looking at him so much in the first round.
I mean, he's a guy that's kind of falling back towards the back end of the first round, so you really don't have to worry about making that kind of a decision over, like, who do I take, David Johnson or Adrian Peterson? You really don't have to make that decision because there is a little bit of cushion in between them.
Yeah, true. And you know what, too? Going back to what you said about knowing your league, think about it this way. If you draft David Johnson or Todd Gurley in the first round at, like, the number 6 or 7 pick, and then you go back and you pick at the 6th, and maybe you have a league full of, Adrian Peterson haters. And then you get Adrian Peterson in the middle of the second. Are you loving that or what?
That's not terrible. I mean, like I said, though, I do like to tend to get at least one of those stud receivers, though. I think it's imperative. True. I think it's imperative you get one of those stud receivers, at least one, at the very least.
I don't know. You could do that too. You're very well right. You could do that. You could go running back and then receiver second round, and then just make a really balanced team.
I mean, there is some pretty good wide receivers in the second round. You got guys like Brandon Marshall and Allen Robinson towards the top half, and then towards the middle you got guys like Mike Evans, Jordy Nelson,
Brandon Cooks.
Brandon Cooks is actually looking at his value right here on the football calculator or fantasy football calculator, and he's a little bit down. Actually, back into the second round. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. No, I was going to say
Alshon Jeffrey is still right there. You got Amari Cooper's right there. Like, there's some good receivers in the second round.
Yeah, I do like a lot of receivers in the second round. Now, but like I said, and I hate to sound like a broken record here, but if you're at the top of the first, don't be stupid with it. If you got a top 3 pick, take a receiver. You got 3 studs right there. I mean,
you're taking Antonio Brown. Here's some potential matches that you're matching them up with. You got players like Amari Cooper, Devontae Freeman, Alshon Jeffrey, Brandon Cooks, Mark Ingram, and LaShawn McCoy. Even like T.Y. Hilton and Jarvis Landry are right there too.
Yeah, he's actually a guy that's being slept on too, is T.Y. Hilton. like literally I've heard 3 separate reports, not just one report. I've heard 3 separate reports. One was actually Andrew Luck quoting that T.Y. Hilton has been the best player in camp, and then a beat writer saying that 2 months ago, and now the Indianapolis Star, the biggest newspaper covering the Colts, has also said that T.Y. Hilton looks poised for a breakout year. I think that a lot of people are really sleeping on T.Y. Hilton. I think that this year could be a huge year for him.
He's another one of those guys where I wouldn't mind having him as like one of my third receivers. I think it's almost inevitable this year that I'm really liking the way that the ADP is set up right now to where I can just go receiver, and then work on my running backs.
That's true. I don't know, man. The only disagreement I have with that is just that late running back value is just not there for me. So the only ones that I'd really be comfortable with maybe thinking about taking, Latavius Murray is a guy that's on my radar late because I love
Latavius Murray. I love him as my number one receiver or number one running back.
Because think about it, where he's going is an absolute steal. I think he's a guy that I can actually build off of last season's production, going maybe double-digit touchdowns and also up his yardage. I think that's not out of the realm of possibility for Latavius Murray. But after him, though, there's kind of a steady drop-off for me. I'm not really comfortable with Matt Forte. He's old. He's got injury concerns already out of camp. I'm just not liking that too much. And then same with the Chicago backfield's an absolute mess. I don't want to touch that. And then maybe Carlos Hyde, who maybe will or will not do anything. I'm not touching that either.
Here's some players in the second round. I already did this for the first round. I'm going to name off all these players that are going in the second round, and I want you to tell me if there's any names that stick out to you that maybe they shouldn't belong in the second round.
Okay.
Okay, we got Le'Veon Bell at 201, Brandon Marshall, Keenan Allen, Jordy Nelson, Jamal Charles, Mike Evans, Devontae Freeman, Murray Cooper, Alshon Jeffrey, Brandon Cooks, got Mark Ingram in. That rounds out the second round.
Well, the one that really doesn't belong is Devontae Freeman. We all, my hate for him, actually our hate for him is well known. I think there's going to be some very stiff regression for Devontae Freeman next year. All the red flags are there. If Tevin Coleman comes back healthy, he's got injury concerns right now. But if he comes back healthy next year, that's a huge red flag for me. I do not like Devontae Freeman at all in that second round. Another name that sticks out for me too is Brandon Marshall. I think they'll have a decent enough year next year, but I think there's going to be a little bit of regression.
Yeah, the two names that stick out to me are the ones that are right there at the top of the second round. Like Le'Veon Bell at 201, to me is like, I hope that falls down a little bit more. But the reason why I have Le'Veon Bell needs to go down more is because if you look further down the board, nor D'Angelo Williams is going right now.
Where's
He's
that?
going in the mid sixth round.
Well, fuck that. I mean, if I
yeah,
take
that's what I'm saying.
wow.
If you get Le'Veon Bell in the second round, you basically have to burn a sixth round pick on D'Angelo Williams. Like I don't like that. I don't like. It's just not. It's not good business.
No, you're right. That goes back to knowing your league too. So if you know, like you're playing with a bunch of amateurs and they're like, I don't know who the hell D'Angelo Williams is. So that's a plus for you.
People are probably going to want to take D'Angelo Williams a little bit earlier because they know that he's going to start for a quarter of the season.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes you're playing with
especially all those fucking guys that draft a lot of receivers towards like the first 5 rounds, and they're like, oh well, here's D'Angelo Williams. I'm just going to throw him in for 4 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. That is true. You have those guys too that just go super receiver heavy, like way too much so, and like draft a whole bunch of.
I don't like this kind of strategies where it's like 0 wide receiver, 0 running back. I don't like any of those kind of strategies because I like to be balanced. I like to find the values in the draft. Actually, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now for me, I think that a name that I'm really surprised at this point I haven't mentioned yet is a guy that's going for a throwaway price who could be the number one receiver on his team is Kamar Aiken. That's a huge reason why I'm thinking maybe draft a running back in the first 2 rounds, because you got a guy like Kamar Aiken that can, be a potential good third receiver on your team. I'm just saying, no, but you're absolutely right. The receiver value is sometimes there, but yeah, the best strategy in a draft is always, and I think that we're in agreement on this one, is get a balanced team. Whether you go, I'm thinking it by increments of every 2 rounds too. Like if I'm going, it just depends on the flow of the draft.
Another thing about knowing your league is also knowing your scoring system. Like, how is your scoring system set up? Like, I know a lot of leagues are just they're bland. Like, they'll have either standard or PPR. But what if there's bonuses for getting long touchdowns or getting a certain amount of yards? Or what if there's you get a quarter of a point for getting a carry? There's a lot of those kind of leagues that are starting to sprout up a little bit. So you really need to know your scoring system too, and that will adjust your rankings a little bit according,
Yeah, definitely, yeah, because a lot of people might be just looking at the ADP, and they're like, oh, okay, I can get this guy there, but then when you're actually in the draft and you only have 30 seconds to pick, you're looking at it and you're like, oh fuck, and then you see a guy slip through the cracks, and you're looking at it and you're like, his ranking just is not right with whatever site you're playing on. And you look at it, and you got a guy, falling to you. Take that value. Absolutely take that value.
I got a couple of tough questions to ask you, though.
Okay, all right.
It's kind of what do you do about players like Arian Foster and Josh Gordon?
That's a really tough question, but I've actually kind of halfway prepared for that question. So Josh Gordon is a guy where I think with you have to weigh his potential with either or. So let's say you have the potential to waste a pick on him, and you have the potential to get a huge upgrade for your team. So it's either a boom or a bust with this guy.
Would you rather have Josh Gordon or Jordan Matthews?
And that's tough. I will tell you, though, where I'm comfortable picking Josh Gordon, and that's in the 7th round. I think that's the soonest I'm going to be thinking about him. That's my threshold for a guy like Josh Gordon.
Are you ready for me to tell you his ADP?
What's his ADP?
The top of the 6th round. Second pick, 6th round. That's where his average is. Would you feel comfortable taking him there, though?
I would not in the 6th. No, absolutely not. No, if he falls to me in the 7th, I'll take him. But if we're talking,
you're trying to look to see get a little bit of value out of him, then, huh?
Absolutely, yeah. If you're getting a guy who has a track record like him, you're looking at maybe getting him around later than he's going on average, because I don't want to be the guy to bite a bullet on him.
Would you still draft Josh Gordon over guys like I don't know, Jordan Matthews, Larry Fitzgerald, Alan Hearns, Emmanuel Sanders?
Well, I think out of all those guys you just named, I think that, maybe Larry Fitzgerald or Emmanuel Sanders has the safest floor. But still, with the quarterback situation in Denver, I'm not really thinking Emmanuel Sanders. Larry Fitzgerald is a little bit older. Josh Gordon is the guy that could potentially be let's think about it. Not 3 years ago, he was
he led the league.
Fucking,
he led the league in rush. Yeah.
He was going fucking crazy. Exactly. So why not take that chance?
I just recently did a draft on ESPN where I drafted Josh Gordon as my 4th receiver. I love him as my 4th receiver.
Oh, I love that too. Yeah, because then think about it. If you have 4 receivers like that, so let's run down that situation real quick. Let's say you draft, I don't know. Let's say for argument's sake, Allen Robinson, Keenan Allen, and Sammy Watkins, and then your fourth receiver in your flex position is Josh Gordon. Is that not – if Josh Gordon pans out this year, I mean, fuck, dude. You're talking about a potentially, like, league-winning lineup, and we're just looking at receivers right now.
And even so, you said that you like a lot of those late round values. Even if, say, like Josh Gordon wasn't the pan out, you got guys behind him like Devontae Parker, Michael Crabtree, Kevin White. You got Deshaun Jackson. Even his teammate Corey Coleman could outdo him too. So.
Oh yeah, no, there's no shortage of late round receivers. But, yeah, if a guy like Josh Gordon, who has a proven track record of bullshit, goes at the top of the sixth, I'm thinking maybe if I'm, like, sitting there with a mid-seventh rounder, if I picked at that 6th or 7th spot, I'm thinking, you know, if he falls to me in the 7th round at that 6th or 7th pick, I'm thinking Josh Gordon at this point. Because like you said, if you play that strategy out where you have fucking 4 absolutely – I mean, if Josh Gordon pans out, don't get me wrong. I know I'm repeating myself here, but
you could get a wide receiver 1 late in the draft.
Oh yeah, but think about that, dude. Think about a team with 4 wide receiver 1. Is that not like you not just blow your load at that?
You have a lot. Yeah, you have a lot of flexibility at that point because, I know a lot of leagues are still using kickers and defenses, but say if you're in a league where you're not using kickers or defenses, and you could have like multiple flex positions, that's pretty ideal, don't you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Even in a league where you have 1 flex position, I love that. You know, like pretty much you have 4 locks on your roster right there, and then maybe
you also have trade capital if you ever need a running back too or a quarterback.
That's very true. Yeah, you could take like a guy like Sammy Watkins and turn him over for an RB1 later in the year if say, somebody's like all up on his dick or all up on one of your receivers' dick.
But I will say, though, that you should never just draft a guy with the intentions of, I'm going to draft him just to trade him. That strategy tends to not really work out very well. Like, if you try to draft in spite of somebody, like, you don't have a quarterback yet, and I do, and everyone else does, so I'm going to draft another one just to spite you. That could come back to bite you.
Yeah, I would definitely say that don't do that. Don't just so if you drafted a quarterback the round before and then somebody hasn't drafted a quarterback yet in like a later round and then you take the last good quarterback on the board just to spite him, you're really not doing yourself any favors when you could have handcuffed one of your running backs or potentially got like a nice value at receiver. I think that there's way too much.
There's a lot of nice players in those mid rounds, man.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. There's no point in taking a guy and just to spite somebody when you could have had way better value. Like so and so is not. They're gonna have a shitty year because they don't have a good quarterback. They're gonna stream quarterbacks all year. Well, I got news for you. Almost every year we hear of a brand new name at quarterback that fucking breaks out of nowhere. And we're like,
every year it happens. Every year.
Every year you're like, I never saw this happening before. Last year,
players always come out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to use an example. It's a different position, but last year I said it all year about David Johnson. I was like, he's going to break out. He's going to have a breakout when he finally gets starting reps. He's going to break out. I didn't know that it was going to happen last year.
You held on to him for all year.
I held on to him for most of the year because I had a feeling. I had a gut feeling. And same with Thomas Rawls. I didn't hold him all year like I did David Johnson, but I had a feeling on Thomas Rawls. I was like, I don't know. Marshawn Lynch is struggling. I think Thomas Rawls is going to bust in there. But David Johnson was a good example because I held on to him in 2 leagues for a good majority of the year with the potential of like, fuck, dude, when this guy gets in there, he's going to blow up. Now, you can do that. Every year there's a quarterback, though, that we've never even heard of. Like last year, like Blake Bortles, we were like, he had a disappointing rookie year, so we're looking at him, he's erratic, this and that, and he had a fucking breakout year last year. I don't know if we'll see a regression or not, but what my point is by this is we don't know what we're going to see. Next year, there's going to be somebody that comes out of nowhere. A quarterback's going to go down, and we're going to be like, where the fuck is this guy? Where did he come from?
As far as quarterbacks go, I do tend to like to wait, but what do you think about a strategy? Say you are a big Tom Brady fan, and you think that obviously he's going to be really great when he comes back, what are some names that you could throw out there that you could draft to ease you through those first 5 weeks?
Well, the number one name that comes to me is Kirk Cousins. I know you're not too high on him, but he's a guy that could maybe hold you over for those first 4 weeks. Another guy that comes to mind is maybe a Blaine Gabbert or an RG3. I don't know if
really
he trusts an RG3, but
he did make a really nice throw to Terrell Pryor last night, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that. I was going to say that he's shown pretty good chemistry with his receivers, and he's kind of in a mixed bag. He threw for a touchdown last game, and he threw for an interception. So, excuse me.
Here,
hold on. I'm sorry to cut you off. Another guy that I forgot to mention too is Sam Bradford, or another guy in Denver's quarterback position. It hasn't really been decided yet. It's either going to be Trevor Siemian or Mark Sanchez. You don't know who it's going to be. Maybe you take one of those two guys, and maybe that pans out. Maybe it's going to pan out before you draft, before you go. So I don't know. Sam Bradford's another guy that I'm looking at because he looks like a lock.
If I had plans on drafting Tom Brady as my quarterback, I would probably look to take somebody who has some really good matchups, like the first 5 weeks. You could probably take a guy like a Matthew Stafford or a Derek Carr that I think would really complement Tom Brady really well.
Yeah, wow, yeah. Actually, that's funny they mentioned that because those guys weren't even on my. I mean, I was thinking Derek Carr, but Matthew Stafford's a guy that we don't really mention a whole lot, and he's a guy that you could get really great value for in the draft. And I really like.
I really like his schedule for the first half of the season too.
Yeah, and he's progressed really well with Jim Bob Cooter's new offense. I like what I see out of Matthew Stafford.
What do you do with guys like Arian Foster? Is a guy you're not even considering?
I mean, you just don't know what you're going to get. We know vintage Arian Foster. When he's healthy, he's amazing. But this year,
he's in Miami now.
I know, that's what I'm saying. A lot of things are working against him this year. He's got a new system, new coach.
And the coaches lied to us. They now named Ajayi the number one running back.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was going to say we don't know who the actual starter is. The Miami backfield is one that I'm very, very hesitant on, like, even touching right this second because I don't know if I want to draft Ajayi or Peterson. I'm actually more comfortable drafting Ajayi because his stock's been going down recently. I'm actually more comfortable drafting Ajayi with like a later pick than drafting Arian.
Do you feel like you have to draft them both, or are you just more leaning towards Ajayi?
I think right now Arian Foster's really not on my radar a whole lot. I think that his career is on the winding down phase, and I think that Ajayi.
Do you see any upside with him though?
Yeah, I do see it. Yeah, if say you're in a league and he falls like, I'm talking like 8th or 9th round.
Say we're it's a PPR league.
For a PPR league, the thing is though, you're drafting with so much risk already. Why not take the risk with Ajayi? So for me, it's like you calculate the risk out. I would rather just have Ajayi.
Well, I mean, there's a guy that's going a little, like a pick before him. On average, Arian Foster's a 5th round pick right now, mid-5th round pick. He's solid.
For Arian Foster?
Yes.
Oh, I don't like that at all.
Yeah, me either. Because of the guys. Here's some of the guys that are around him. You got like guys like Duke Johnson, Danny Woodhead. You got guys like even like DeMarco Murray. I picked DeMarco Murray before I picked Arian Foster. My opinion.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, yeah, I'd be more comfortable with that because it sounds like he's I think he's now in a better system than in Philadelphia's. I think that Tennessee is a way better system for him.
I just think that Tennessee wants to rock the ball right up the middle every play.
Oh yeah, I love that.
I mean, it obviously it looks like they want to be a running team. They got DeMarco Murray, then they turned around and drafted Derrick Henry. So I think they're really going to want to run the ball a lot this year. I think it's pretty much you got like you got Houston that wants to play good defense, control the clock. You got Jacksonville that really beefed up their defense, and you got Tennessee who just wants to run the ball to shorten the game. I think it's going to be a running division, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. I think that Tennessee's another team where I don't know who to draft, because I think I'd be more comfortable, instead of drafting a DeMarco Murray, I'm more comfortable drafting a Derrick Henry, maybe with a later pick, like maybe a 10th rounder, make a flyer, and then say, hey, fuck it, okay. DeMarco Murray either goes down or he is ineffective, and they put Derrick Henry in there. Then bam, you just kind of like from volume alone, you've got at least an RB2 on your team.
So we're going to move into a little bit later rounds, like say not like late, but I'm saying like 4, 5, and 6. Say you already got you got your running backs, right? You already got both your running backs. Now, who are some receivers that you're targeting in that 4 through 6 range?
Well, 4 through 6, that's difficult territory. But sorry, I got a dog on my lap. I think Latavius Murray is the big name that sticks out to me there. I think that if you can get a Latavius Murray in like the 5th round or maybe the 6th, shit, that's great.
No, I was saying, say you already have both your running backs in those first 3 rounds. What are some receivers that you're targeting in rounds 4 through 6?
Oh, I'm sorry. I totally missed that question. Well, I think probably the best name that I'm looking at maybe is if Doug Baldwin fell there, or maybe a
what
Jeremy
about
Maclin,
Michael Floyd?
Or a Michael Floyd, Jeremy Maclin. Another guy.
They're all there.
I think another guy that people are sleeping on too is in a pass-heavy offense for the Chargers, Travis Benjamin. I really think that he's getting slept on right now. He's a deep threat that I could see, it's not a real possibility, getting maybe 5 touchdowns next year.
You know who's been practicing with that first team offense in San Diego is Tyrell Williams.
I know, I like that
He's
too.
He's a second-year guy.
He's got
some speed too.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see if he. It looks like right now though he's claimed that 3rd receiver slot, and that Travis Benjamin's still in front of him though. So I kind of like that. I kind of like the receiving trio though. It's pretty good.
No, yeah, I do. Yeah. Terrell Williams. He's been injured as of late, but I do like that Travis Benjamin working out of the slot. I like I like what he represents. I'm thinking he's a guy that could get you at least. It's not a real possibility to say 5 touchdowns next year. And another guy that a lot of people are really sleeping on is Rashard Matthews, who could potentially break out and be Marcus Mariota's number 1 receiver in Tennessee next year. And another guy, while I'm on a roll here, Torrey Smith. He's another guy that's going at a good value. And Kenny Britt is going really, really late, getting slept on a bad Rams team that could be that number 1.
I will say I do like the couple of players that you named off, like Torrey Smith. I really think that he could have an impact season this year, especially where you can get him like the 9th, 10th round even sometimes. Like that's really pretty good value for a guy that's going to be a number 1 receiver. Exactly,
yeah, and another guy too.
But though Tennessee though, I don't know who that number 1 receiver is. Is it going to be Kendall Wright? Is it going to be Green Beckham? Is it going to be, say, maybe Rashard Matthews or even Tajay Sharp? He's been looking really good too.
Yeah, that's true. I think my money right now in the Tennessee situation is my money's on Rashard Matthews because I would want to say DGB in this one, Darrell Green Beckham.
He's looked. They said that he's looked confused out there.
Yeah,
Green Beckham.
Yeah, the coaches do not like him. He hasn't had a good grasp on the offense, so I'm not really.
He's not had a good offseason.
He has not had a good offseason at all, so he's not really on my radar anymore. And Kendall Wright, you know what you're getting out of Kendall Wright. It's pretty much a mixed bag. You don't know what you're going to get. I think the guy that I trust the most is Rashard Matthews. If you're going to draft a guy a Tennessee receiver, I would say draft Rashard Matthews, definitely.
So some of the guys that I'm looking at, like say, because I'm a little bit opposite you. I like to get my receivers out of the way early, because then these running backs that are going in like the 4th and 5th round, you got players like DeMarco Murray, you got players like Carlos Hyde, Deion Lewis, Latavius Murray. I'm really high on Latavius Murray this year. I think that Oakland line is going to be fucking awesome. Latavius Murray is a guy that I'm targeting.
Out of the 4 guys that you named, my bad. Out of the 4 guys you named, I think that 2 of them stick out to me. Deion Lewis and Latavius Murray. I think I'm equally as high on Latavius Murray as you are.
Yeah.
But two guys that I'm really, you actually named them too. I'm sorry, I totally forgot their names. I'm having a complete brain fart here. But who were the first 2 that you named?
I said there's Danny Woodhead's in the beginning of the 5th round. You got DeMarco Murray back into the 4th round. Carlos Hyde, Deion Lewis, and Latavius Murray are all mid-4th round picks.
Yeah,
and if you go further down the list, you got Jeremy Langford at the back end of the 5th. You got Matt Jones there at the back end of the 5th. Giovanni Bernard is there.
See, now I'm not comfortable taking a DeMarco Murray or a Matt Forte. I'm more comfortable. I think that Latavius Murray is going for an absolute value right now, and I think that Deion Lewis is going for a pretty good value. Even Gio Bernard's going for good value because we don't know what we're going to get out of Jeremy Hill next year. I think, for argument's sake, I think that Jeremy Hill's going for a pretty good value. But for me,
a lot of these players to me tend to fall into that flex category for me. Wouldn't you say?
I mean, yeah, that's true. But if you're, I don't know.
Would you feel comfortable with Jonathan Stewart being your second running back?
No.
I would.
I would.
What about?
Because, go ahead.
What about a Jeremy Hill? As a second running back, not your first running back, your second running back.
Yeah, depending if I had a badass group of receivers, I would say yes.
Well, let's just say you're in the middle pick every round, right? And you go and you go ahead and you snag yourself, say like a DeAndre Hopkins, and in the second round you come back, you follow that back up with Keenan Allen, and then in the 3rd round you go and get Sammy Watkins, and my computer froze, and then the 4th round you're sitting here pondering, should I just take Latavius Murray as my number 1? And then would you feel comfortable with that roster of Hopkins and then Allen, Latavius Murray, and then say Jonathan Stewart?
I would feel comfortable with that roster. I would. I think that the running back position leaves a little bit to be desired with Jonathan Stewart. But I do like that. It
doesn't have to be John Stewart. It could also be Jeremy Hill or Matt Jones.
That's true. I think I'd feel more comfortable with Jeremy Hill or maybe a Matt Jones. But I've actually heard some really bad things about Matt Jones in training camp. I've heard that the Redskins running backs as a whole have not had a good camp.
I can't believe they didn't try to beef that running back situation up. I thought they were going to go after Foster, to be honest.
Yeah, I was really surprised when they didn't either. But I don't know, they stuck with Matt Jones, and he's shown that he hasn't really picked it up a whole lot this sophomore season. So I don't know what we're going to get on Matt Jones. He's a guy that I'm looking at more of like, I guess I'll take a flyer on him. But
what player scares the hell out of me though is Ryan Matthews.
Oh yeah, he scares me. If I draft him in a league,
he's right there. He's right there in the. Let me find him real fast. He's right there in like the 5th, 6th round, and like, oh my God! Like, can you imagine drafting him and thinking you're gonna get good RB2 value, but then he ends up going down? Like, he's an injury-prone back. That scares the hell out of me because you don't really know who to handcuff him. Who do you handcuff Ryan Matthews with? Is it going to be Smallwood? Is it going to be Sproles? Kenny Barner's there?
Yeah, you just don't know. There's so many running back situations where you have no idea who the actual handcuff is, and that's what the most frustrating part. Going back to that though, yeah, you don't know, and he's another reason why I'm looking at it like, shit, if I can get some stud running backs in the first and second round, that's why I'm looking at that with, depending on how the draft's going, getting those guys, because I don't feel there's maybe one or two running backs that I feel comfortable with in the late rounds. Like, oh yeah, like I think this guy's gonna be a stud all season. Latavius Murray is one of them. But then think about it, like you got like a Carlos Hyde, he may or may not pan out. You know, or here's another situation that I've actually looked at a little bit. A guy who's getting up there in age, everything else in that Vikings backfield, AP. I'm just saying, What if you stole a guy like Jerick McKinnon, like in the later rounds before the guy gets a chance to handcuff him? You steal a Jerick McKinnon, and then AP finally shows his age and goes down, and then you got a guy like Jerick McKinnon, who I've been hearing great things about in camp, and goes out and is an absolute stud.
You know, he does have some really good dynamics to his game. I like him a lot more. Like that fat fuck that's on that team. I can't say his name right now. But how would you feel about? Here's some running backs I think are getting a little bit overlooked. Guys like Frank Gore, Amir Abdul, Rashad Jennings, Melvin Gordon, Justin Forsett. I think even Chris Ivory. I think those running backs are getting overlooked. I think Chris Ivory's a steal this year.
You're right on Chris Ivory. The thing about Forsett is that Baltimore backfield's a mess. We don't know who.
Yeah, I do tend to try to stay away from their backfield.
Yeah, because Terrence West, you got Buck. No, I'm not gonna call him Buck. Jarvis
Buck
Allen.
Again. Buck your friend.
Exactly. Yeah. Fuck Buck. You got fucking Buck Allen. You got Terrence West. You have his name escapes me right now, but basically you have three backs back there that could vie for attention. Justin Forsett, 31. He opens up, projected to be the starter, but you don't know. And then he got all those other guys he named, and I think that the only, like, I don't really feel comfortable with any of those guys.
I like Ivory because I think that he's going to slam it in there on Chris Ivory's going to slam it in there on the first and second. I think he's going to be the guy that's going to tote the rock the most.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that he's going to.
And people I don't know why people hate him. I don't know. He's dropped so far. People just hate him for some reason.
I think that he'll be effective enough next year. Plus, you got the T.J. Yeldon dynamic. Probably not a good pick in any standard drafts, but a guy that projects to be the future back in Jacksonville. I don't, it's hard to make of what you're going to see, but I do think that his value goes up because of those red zone carries, definitely.
Is that their way of saying, hey, Yeldon, you're not getting the job done in the red zone. We're going to get someone else to do that job for you?
I don't know if I would go as far to say that, but yeah, kind of.
I mean, they I think they only had like 5 or 6 rushing touchdowns last year.
That is true. Yeah, Yeldon didn't get it.
I think that's the main reason why Chris Ivory came to Jacksonville, because he was good in the red zone.
I thought it was very peculiar. Why he came there, because I thought T.J. Yeldon did a decent enough job, but yeah, you're right, he wasn't effective in the red zone, and I think that's the main reason. I think that upside alone is a good reason why you can spend like running back 3 value on Chris Ivory.
I mean, even there's a guy right behind him that he's in like the handcuffs, like he's getting drafted like as a handcuff, but I think he's going to be the lead back. Because listen to some of these backs that he's going around. Like, he's going around backs like Charles Sims, Jay Ajayi, Theo Riddick, and Tevin Coleman. Like, those are all kind of like handcuffs, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, if I can get a Chris Ivory around that time period, I'm definitely doing that.
Especially if you are a guy that if you're a guy that does like to pick a lot of receivers early, I think Chris Ivory's a guy you can get as your running back too. That I don't think would hurt you too bad.
Oh, and the guy I just mentioned too, think that late receiver value too, like a Kamara Aiken. He's a guy that could potentially return wide receiver 2 value, who's going at an absolute steal. Like right now, he's going around that same time period-ish, and he's getting overlooked. He's rising in a lot of boards, but he's in
the beginning of the 10th round.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
he's right there with Travis Benjamin and Sammy Coates and Torrey Smith.
Oh yeah. See, I love that because he's a guy that could potentially return you wide receiver 2 value, and he's going at an absolute steal. Same thing. Another guy I like to bring up too, another late rounder that is getting overlooked in a lot of boards, except for like maybe keeper leagues, is Stephon Diggs. I think he might take another step forward. We know how. I'm thinking like doomsday scenario. If say AP goes down, then you got Teddy Bridgewater airing it out. To guys like Stephon Diggs.
It seems like every draft I go into, I always tend to try to snag at least one Baltimore receiver. It's because they're all the receivers are going at great values. Like Steve Smith's a good value, Kamar Aiken's a good value, even Brashard Perriman's a good value.
Oh yeah,
one of those guys is gonna fucking explode this year. I don't know which one, but that's what I'm saying. If you're going to a draft, just take one of them. Just do it.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I think in our dynasty draft, I just with our late rounders, I just took a flyer on Steve Smith. I'm like, fuck, if he can do half of what he did last year, he'll still be, a pretty effective receiver-ish. Maybe it turns out to be a total bust, but with a late rounder, you're just kind of throwing a dart at a dartboard. Yeah, but every year, these Baltimore receivers, one of them is going to be Joe Flacco's favorite target. But the frustrating part is you don't know which one. That's the most frustrating part.
That's why I'm saying the most anticipated games that I'm going to be watching this year is preseason week 3. I want to look and see how do the Baltimore Ravens look and how do the Chicago Bears look. Because week 3 tends to be the week where it's like, oh, this is how we're going to look in the regular season. So we're going to parade out there, and this is the packages we're going to use. This is the personnel we're going to use. I want to see how they use them all.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. You got to look at those preseason games and see who's getting those reps, who's not, who's going to be starting offense, who's looking more like a practice squatter. It all sort of depends.
Yeah. I know we don't really touch on this too often, but like, what round is a round that you're starting to consider taking a tight end?
Well, if I can't get a tight end early, if I can't get a Jordan Reed or a Gronk early, I'm
yeah.
thinking,
Let's just say those two guys are already off the board. What range are you looking for a tight end?
I'm thinking maybe about that 7th or 8th round is where I start to look at one.
All right. I mean, in the 7th round, there's 6th and 7th round. There's some guys there like Delaney Walker, Kobe Fleener, Travis Kelce, even Tyler Eifert towards the back end of the 7th round.
Now, I like all those names that you just named except for Delaney Walker. I think I mentioned it on our last show. I know he came in a little bit rough on that one, so I don't know if everybody heard me. But Delaney Walker is a guy that is maybe, in my mind, poised for some regression. I think his yards go down. I think his touchdowns go down next year. Marcus Mariota's working with a lot more options in that pass game. He's also got
do you think it's just because they're going to run the ball more, or is it because they got more weapons over there?
I think it's a combination of both. I think they got more weapons, and I think that the running backs they have back there, DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry, both have been. I've heard good things about them catching the ball out of the backfield. So that's another reason why that's going to take away from Delaney Walker's value. So I just think that that's a situation where the red flags are there. I think that Delaney Walker's a guy that might go earlier than you expect, but he's also not going to return that value that you drafted him for.
See, my ideal situation is after 6 rounds, my ideal situation is to have 4 receivers and 2 running backs. And then from there, I can go ahead and look for those mid-round values.
Yeah,
Does that
exactly.
make sense to you?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, of course, sometimes you're going to want to veer off that during like different kinds of leagues, but like any kind of like PPR league, that's what I tend to try to do. Once you get to that 7-8 rounds, maybe start thinking about a quarterback or a tight end. If you go tight end, then you're punting the quarterback, right? If you take quarterback, you're punting the tight end. Because I feel like
that is true. Yeah, if I'm looking in that 6 and 7, I think I hold the quarterback position with a little bit more value than the tight end position. So if I
do as well.
So if I'm looking at that 6th or the 7th round, I'm starting to look at a tight end because I don't have one yet on my roster. But I'm also not saying that I'm going to pick one. Essentially, I'm saying that I'm looking at them maybe. So I'm thinking more like, if I got, like you were saying, if I've got my receivers and my running backs all stocked up or pretty well stocked up, and then I get a guy like Derek Carr with like an 8th round pick or a 7th round pick or wherever you're saying he's going as far as not PPR. I'm sorry, ADP is going. And then the next round I might look at like maybe a Julius Thomas or somebody that's getting kind of overlooked.
I'm perfectly fine just waiting as long as possible for a tight end.
Yeah, exactly. I mean the tight end.
I'm perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, if you don't get a stud.
What if I just say, you know what, man, I'm not going to draft a tight end until say the 13th round, and I'll get myself a Dwayne Allen or something like Zach Miller.
Yeah, I like that too. Or you can get a fucking Brett Selleck or a Vance McDonald,
Or even Eric Ebron's average ADP right now is in the back end of the 13th round.
Yeah, and that's good too for a guy that's got Matthew Stafford in a pass-heavy offense. You bring up a good point. There's a lot of late-round tight end value to have.
That's what I'm saying. If I could punt one of those positions towards the back of the draft, I could stockpile my picks and get a lot of receivers and running backs, and then I have a lot of trade capital.
Well, and like we were saying earlier in the show, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but like you were saying, know your league. Kobe Fleener is not a household name. Same with Dwayne Allen. Like those are guys that
flip.
Yeah, those are guys that could easily fall you late. Like, so you already have all your positions filled out, and then you just you're like, shit, Kobe Fleener, I love it. He's got Drew Brees as a quarterback, and then, you just get these guys that aren't exactly household names, and you get insane value for them.
Yep, and then like as the season progresses, there's going to be some injuries, there's going to be some players that underperform, and then it's like, well, next man up, because you got all this capital here. I can just keep putting out people on my bench and put them in my starting spot, and then say some injury happens, you can always make a trade.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? The thing you gotta bring up, Johnny, is that trades aren't gonna make your team. Like your draft is gonna be the bread and butter of your team, and if you have a really good draft, and you draft all these good players like we're talking about. And draft could be the difference maker, to having a championship-winning team or a busted team where you drafted a bunch of guys that were great last year, but every year there's players we see regression from, and there's players we see progression from, and you want to jump off those ships of those guys that have the red flags, and you want to jump on the guys that are like, oh, hey, maybe he's poised for a breakout, take a late-round flyer on him. And those are the kind of decisions that win you your league.
See, I'm a big believer in the draft is only half the battle. The second half of the battle is the waiver wire, because every year there's a half a dozen players that are just off the waiver wire. They're going to end up being a top 10 player in their respective position. You got to really be a hound. You got to be a shark. You got to keep eating.
Yeah, you definitely do. You got to look at it, and you gotta you gotta keep watching the waiver wire. I don't care if you're at work, just the minute your boss isn't looking, fucking flip through it real quick and see what the latest news is, because you got you got to be quick, and you got to pick up these guys. Like last year, like I was a little late, when Ingram went out. I wanted the guy to pick up was Hightower, but he was already gone, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm just Spiller, and then it didn't pan out. But my point is that you got to be the minute that this news comes out, you got to grab this guy because you love that value from these waiver guys. But the thing is, I have a question for you, Johnny. So, but
What's up?
Doesn't it mean that if you have that much better of a draft than everybody else, and you get these guys that are like on the upward trend and not the downward trend, if you have that much better of a draft, doesn't that put you in a way better position to where you don't have to play the waiver wire as hard as you do if you draft guys like, say, Devonta Freeman and it doesn't pan out, and then he's pretty much a lost cause all season like C.J. Anderson was last year. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, on the same token, if you don't take any chances at all, then you don't get any of that upside either.
That is true. It's a double-edged sword. Guys like we were just mentioning, like Josh Gordon. He's a big one.
Like maybe Devonta Freeman. Maybe that's who he is. He's a guy that can catch a bunch of balls and get in the touchdowns in the red zone. Maybe that's just who he is.
Maybe that's it. Maybe we're totally wrong. That's the beauty of fantasy football. Maybe we're totally wrong on Devonta Freeman, and he just continues to tear that he started last year. I don't see it happening, but my point is that you never know with these guys. This is all strictly speculation, and you just never know.
See, so that'll do it for today's show. If you want to follow us on Twitter, follow us at the Fifth Down FF, and please rate and review us on iTunes. We greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, my closing comments are simple. Please rate and review us on iTunes. We can't get our word out there unless you guys are rating us highly and getting our gospel of fantasy football out there. So, stay tuned, Fifth Downers. A lot is to come. We're going to have a lot more coming out on maybe draft strategies. Guys are going up and down our boards coming up. So just stay tuned.
We're going to be trying to move to three shows a week, Monday, Wednesday, Saturday.
I love it.
So be on alert for that. We will be having a lot more mock drafts lately, so we'll be having some shows like that. So keep them tuned, and we'll keep you up, and we'll win championships together. Let's do it.
All right. We'll see you later, Johnny.
All right. Peace out, Fifth Downers.